All right. Aloha kakahiaka. Good morning. Ohau gozaimasu to everyone here on the call. We're excited to have our April US Active School Zoom call this morning. As I talked the other day, or mentioned the other day, we have some wonderful speakers lined up. We want to thank all the previous speakers, especially the women that have set the standard, to set the tone for active school this year in 2022, it being the year of the tiger, of boldness, bravery, and you guys hit it all out of the park. And so we thank the previous presenters and look forward to the presenters that we have here. I wanted to recognize, as Diane pointed out in the beginning of this meeting, our CEO, David Brown, has joined us today. Him and his family, his lovely wife, and everyone going through some rough times at this time. Thank you for all your thoughts and your prayers and his support for him and his family. We love seeing his face, and he brings what none of us on this call can. And so we just love having his presence here. And then, of course, our COO, Angie Hawthorne, right of the morning there, joining us as well. So as I mentioned, we actually have men, two men. Wayman, I think, was our only other man so far that presented in this calendar year. And so no pressure to Jerry, our A8, who's going to be our first presenter, and also to our up and coming leader, A4 Grant Hillam. No pressure to you guys, but the ladies definitely did set the standard of active school, and it's been wonderful. And knowing both of you, that's no problem for you. But to kick us off this morning, we will start with our A8 leader, who was originally born in Oklahoma, grew up in Alaska, but now lives in Oregon, who also married a Filipino beautiful lady. And so, being all over the place with different ethnicities and people, different environments, Jerry is just like me, Hawaiian. I'm gonna call you Hawaiian, Jerry, because we're mixed plate. Have a little bit of everything, experience all the different cultures and areas. And so when I do talk to you, I feel like I always feel Hawaii in your heart, and you're just a wonderful guy, great leader that definitely loves his people. But the best thing about Jerry as well is, not only being from different places and loving different people and knowing different things, is his favorite food is Japanese. I mean, what else can you not like about this person? Which, my wife's Japanese, and she's a great Japanese cook. So Jerry, one of these days, when you're in Hawaii, definitely inviting you over for a Japanese dinner. And that goes for everybody as well. His hobbies is running and fishing. But through all of this, happy-go-lucky Jerry, he actually has some great wealth of knowledge in the business area. Serving his business background in the U.S. Navy for about 6 years, and then later he was for 23 years was in field service and a tech support engineer for an microscope company. So he has a very interesting background. And then about 7 years ago, he moved into project management. He has now joined us here at ACTIVZ. He's been with us for a couple of years now, and working side by side with him, both here in the U.S. as well as trying to get Japan going. It's been a wonderful treat. And so I'm very honored at this time to introduce Jerry Scrivner, who is our A8 and talking about belief. The floor is yours, Jerry.
Wow, thank you very much, Stu. First, let me, while I'm talking, I wasn't sure if you were going to wear one of your Hawaiian shirts today, and I do have one. And one of these days, we're going to be on the same call. I've had it for a while, but I wasn't sure to show up in that today or not. So I'll get it next time. But let me go ahead and get my screen sharing here. And can everybody see see my screen? All right. One more thing. Oops. There we go. So Stu, thank you very much. And it's always an honor. Oops. There we go. It's always an honor and a pleasure to be asked to present, especially for something, as important as active school. The thing is you come into these and Stu, first of all, sets the bar pretty high with his introductions. And then on top of that, I find out today that I'm going to be presenting alongside Grant and Dr. Earl. And then, this is the first full men's panel, I guess, this year. So, right, there's no pressure. And everybody else prior to this and all the active school has just done a fantastic job. So, thank you again, Stu. As Stu said, my name is Jerry Scrivner. I'm a Navy veteran. I'm a husband of my beautiful wife, Evelyn. I'm the father of two amazing kids, Christina and Carl. Excuse me. I've been part of the network marketing industry for about 10 years. And one of the key things, as Stu mentioned, I've really come to see that not only gets people started in the beginning, but allows them to stick with it is belief. And that's just, like I said, as Stu mentioned, that's what I'm going to want to talk about today. And let's talk a little bit about, the belief that we can help people with what we have our hands on, whether it's a product or a business. The belief that we can do something to provide more for our loved ones, whether it's a vacation, health, a college education, more time with our kids or our spouse. We all have different dreams and goals here. The belief that we can become better or have more than we have today. And certainly the belief that wanting those things and pursuing those things is okay. So, here's the deal. Really, sometimes, we talk a lot about belief, but sometimes, those beliefs can get challenged, right? The universe can come at us in a way that just flips everything upside down. And that's when, our belief, not so much in a company or a product or a team, but the belief we have in ourselves becomes so important. A few years ago when I was introduced to ACTIVZ, I really, a few of you have heard this story. I really wasn't looking for something new. A very close, very dear friend of mine, Paige Gimbel, called me up one day, and during that conversation, she said those 5 magic words. So there's this company. And at that point, I honestly was not looking for something new. I really just kind of let out a huge sigh, but because I had belief in Paige. And I had belief in knowing, that she's the kind of person I'm willing to listen to. I listened. And when I heard who was leading this company, when I heard what we had our hands on, and when I heard about the people behind the science, that really put my belief in a level in those people and that science to just take the next step. I couldn't make any promises in that moment, but sometimes just taking the step changes everything. So I took a leap of faith, and really that faith led me here to a place where in the last 4 years I've been more successful in this industry with ACTIVZ than I have been in the previous 6 or 7 years. We all have ups and downs when it comes to how strong our belief is in something. I found that especially true in network marketing in this industry. We get told no, we get shot down. Sometimes people don't answer our phone calls or they don't return our phone calls. And that's just a normal part of being in this business. But the thing is when that happens, what we tend to do is we tend to pull back and disconnect from those around us. That's just a natural reaction, I think, to kind of protect ourselves. And really what we should be doing is stepping forward into our belief in what we have and what our goals are. And we shouldn't be allowing those no's, those rejections to allow us to pull back. I would wager that if each of us sat down and wrote 2 lists, one a list of things that we aren't so good at, our weak points, our fears. I heard Claudia Valdez yesterday and over here and I were having a conversation and she said our demons, right? And the other list being a list of strengths, beliefs, things we're good at. My guess would be that first list would probably be a lot longer than the second, and it shouldn't be, because the question is, which of those lists will get us further down the road? which will get you closer to your goal, focusing on, the fears, what we're not good at, or focusing on our beliefs, focusing on our strengths. The belief in who you are, the belief that you can have it too, the belief in what we have here as a company and as a team. Sometimes we have to even lean on the beliefs of others until we build that belief in ourselves. The saying right here, faith and fear both demand you believe in something you cannot see. You choose. Speaks volumes to me. Why? Because in those moments, we have a choice. We have a choice to focus either on our faith, our belief, our successes, or we can focus on our demons and our fears. And here's the deal. Something that we too often forget in that moment is we have the power to decide which direction we want to go. We have to believe we're worth it, right? We need to believe that we can do it. And whatever that it is for each of us, you can choose which to believe. Faith moves you forward. Fear freezes you in place. So let's just talk a little bit about some different places we can build some belief for ourselves. So here's a question. Do we have products we can believe in? Who believes that ACTIVZ products work? Just a quick raise hands, right? Just show of hands. Who on the call believes that our products work, right? I mean, does the trifecta work? Has anybody had any results? Can we see them? Sure. Amora, does Amora work? Again, we have thousands of testimonies that show us, and we have our own experiences that show us that these things work. Arrow, I think for me, it's the first product, people have heard, I've struggled with weight since like the 7th grade, it's the first product ever that has ever done anything for me. And I lost 20 pounds last year. We even have Psylocke and Dexkey to take it to the next level. But you know what? I'm not going to go into a science call here. I'm going to save that for Dr. Earl at the end, because, well, he's much better at the science than I am. Then he's also a lot bigger than me, and I don't want to take away from his presentation. But do you believe in the products? And to be very honest, this question really kind of stumped me for a while. Of course, I believe they work. I believe in the science, but something I realized not too long ago, I'm someone that doesn't normally have product stories. I mean, in 10 years, up until this point, I had never had a single significant product story until now. And now I can point at each one of these products on the screen up here, and I can tell you exactly what it has done for me. I mean, significant things they have done for me. And this still really blows my mind. But here's the thing that really pushed my belief on these products through the ceiling. When you hear something and then a little bit later in life, whether it's weeks, months, sometimes years, and you have that aha moment. When you just don't hear the things until you're ready to hear them. So a couple of weeks ago, I guess about a month and a half ago, I was speaking with a friend of mine, started speaking with a friend of mine about ACTIVZ. And we did a 3-way with David. And during that 3-way, one of the things that he said was, I'm hesitant. He's previous experience in network marketing, but he said, I'm hesitant to go share this with my friends and family because I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be the guy that every time I have a new thing, I go to my friends and family, recruit them all, beat them up about it, spew all over them. I don't want to be that guy. And that really got me thinking about that situation, and then a few days later, I did a testimony call with Aaron Cosmos. And in the middle of that call was my aha moment. And I went back to that friend of mine the next day and I said, I heard what you said. I heard what you said about not wanting or to being hesitant about sharing with your friends and family. And here was my thought. If I had not shared with my friends and family, if I had not had the belief in the product, I don't know how many of you have heard Aaron Cosmet's story. If I had not shared with Aaron, Aaron would probably not have that story today. I don't know how many of you are familiar with or aware that, my mom a couple years ago passed away from pancreatic cancer. My mom and I talked daily, in the last few months. And one of the things she would tell me is she stopped taking all her medication. And my mom is a very practical woman, right? She was a nurse. And at one point I said, Mom, is that smart? Is that a good thing? You know, cholesterol, blood pressure, others, diabetes. And she just looked at me very practically and said, you know, Jerry, I know that's not what's going to get me at this point. All those things do is make me feel bad. And she said, the only thing I'm still taking is the trifecta, because if I don't, I feel horrible. Now, thinking about this just a couple of weeks ago, if I had not shared this with my family, my mom's quality of life in those last few months would have been a very, very different story. And that was just, you know, those things happened over 2 years ago, but this epiphany happened a few weeks ago. You know, my point is, believe what we have is important. Believe people need to hear about it. Believe that this is something that can change people's lives. And don't be afraid to share with people what we have, because this is really changing people's lives. So the next thing I want to talk about is us. So do you believe in us? Do you have the belief in you, me, you know, everybody on this call, you know, those not able to be here today, ACTIVZ, the company, the corporate team, the people. To me, this is probably one of the most powerful beliefs, because if you believe in us, then you must believe that you're not here alone. You'll have struggles. You're going to have challenges. You'll have some disappointments, successes, and rewards. You know, we all have them, but we won't have them alone. Sometimes we feel like we're alone in this, but really that's by choice. And you know, really, all those things that are going to happen, you're going to have them with us, right? I'll tell you another little short story here in just a second. You know, sometimes in our career, our venture through this industry with ACTIVZ, you know, all we have the energy to show up for. All we have is the energy to show up and lean on the beliefs of others. You know, to me, the most important thing is to know everyone on this slide, on this call, those are not here, are all at different levels in our beliefs all the time. We fail, we struggle, we get rejected, we help each other back up. We help each other keep moving forward. You know, in the beginning, I told you a little bit about a story about how I first got involved in ACTIVZ. And to be really honest, very transparent, it hasn't all been sunshine and roses over the last few years. Another part of my story is, you know, the last 2 years has been very, very challenging to my belief, not so much in ACTIVZ or the products or the people around me, but in my ability to want to keep going. You know, basically what happened is, you know, both of my parents passed away. I lost a brother-in-law to cancer, and I lost a very close friend of mine from the Navy who took his own life. And there was really a period of time where all I had the energy for, the emotional strength for, was to show up and be on a call with these people. You know, people who didn't question, people who didn't judge, people who just accepted me where I was in, you know, in that season of my life. And people that had the belief in me that at that point I couldn't have for myself. When you can't have the belief in yourself, know that we do. We're all on different cycles, like I said. Not one of us is up all the time. Know there is us, and just show up if that's what you can do. Way too often, others see in us what we can't or will not see for ourselves. So lean on that belief while you build your own, because one day you're going to be the person that somebody else needs to lean on. So do I have belief in me? You know, now we kind of come to the most important and kind of most difficult part. You know, each of us, do we have belief in me? Do I have belief in me, right? You know, in my intro, and I had to think about this for a while, I really wanted to introduce myself by saying, hi, my name is Jerry, and I'm a recovering self-doubter. Not to be funny, not to be disrespectful to anybody, because honestly, that's really simply who I am. Just like anybody else. You know, we all have doubts about what we're doing, why we're doing. And sometimes As strong as my belief is in this company, in these products, in this team, there are times that I doubt myself. When we first get started in this industry, we kind of start out like this quite often, right? You're kind of shy, you're kind of timid, a little scared, don't know how to figure it out and what's going on. And over time, we go through these different levels of belief in how we're seeing ourselves, right? Sometimes we're the kitten seeing the tiger in the reflection. Sometimes we're the tiger and we're seeing the kitten. Right? And there's even times, certainly in the last few years, that I've even felt like this. But here's where we all need to be all the time, right? And I'm gonna try to pull off a little bit of Claudia Valdez right now. So listen to me. Do you have the belief you have what it takes to get the success that you want? Because you should. Because each one of us and every one of us has what it takes. Do you believe you can achieve your goal? You should, because you can and you will. Do you believe in you? Because you should. You should have the belief in yourself that each and every one of us already have in you. What I love about this picture is that there is no arrogance. There's no expectation. There's no judgment. This is somebody, something that is just at total peace in belief of exactly who they are. This is who you know you should be. So my final thought for the day is another saying that I really truly love, is you didn't come this far to only come this far. Whatever goal you have set for yourself, have the belief in yourself that you can achieve it. You already have everything you need to reach any goal that you have. No, just deep inside, everything you want is yours with a strong enough belief in yourself. Don't settle for anything less. I used to tell my kids when they were growing up, when they were participating in sports or either school or anything, okay, you should never be okay with just okay. Set your visions, set your goal, have the belief you'll achieve whatever you set out to do, and go do it. And when you reach that point that maybe you stumble a little bit, maybe you falter. Again, we all do. Reach out, don't pull back, step in. So thank you very much, Stu. I'll turn it back over to you.
Right. Thanks so much, Jerry. That was awesome. I love it. That last saying that you put up there, you didn't come this far to only come this far. That was one of our themes for our football season this past year, which we ended up winning the state title here in Hawaii, but we won the conference title, but we just didn't just come this far just to win a conference title. We wanted the whole thing. And so, having a belief in yourself, it is definitely, I don't want to say tiresome, but it does take a lot. And, I like what you said that, know that other people see something in us or in you that you might not see in yourself. And then, getting the energy from others by just showing up and doing the things that you need to do, definitely goes a long way. And so really appreciate it for your thoughts and your message. Definitely took a lot of notes, and a lot of this definitely pertains not only to network marketing, but every part of our life, which, we all need, because we all have personal lives. We have our social life, we have our business side, our business life as well. So definitely having a belief, not in only others, but in yourself is definitely important. So thank you for that. I will now turn the time over to Angie, who will then be introducing our next speaker, which I'm looking forward to.
All right, thank you, Stu. So I get the pleasure of introducing Grant Hillam. So Grant Hillam, he grew up in Park City, or outside of Park City, but he now lives out in my backyard. He lives in Harriman, so we actually live pretty close to each other. I met Grant and his beautiful wife, Brittany, when they came to our event here in Salt Lake. And I will tell you, when I met them, you can tell that they are a team. Like, he adores his wife, and they are a beautiful couple. And I just really enjoyed meeting both of them. And recently, Grant and his wife, or I should say his wife, had a beautiful baby boy, and they named him Cody. So he's 3 months old, and I can't wait to meet him in person, Grant. So one of these days, I'm going to have to meet your beautiful baby. So a little bit about Grant is he actually, his background is in professional sports, and he raced with Team USA. And before ACTIVZ, he did pro team management. And the event that he competed with Team USA was the JN cross country mountain biking. And one of the things that Grant has in common with my husband is they both love mountain biking. And I can tell you, because my husband wanted to mountain bike, I've tried my hand at mountain biking. And I'll tell you a little secret about mountain biking. You need to look where you want to go and not where you don't want to go. And this relates to this business. If you are going down a mountain, I think Grant can say this is true. If you're going down the mountain on this mountain bike and you're going pretty fast, you're going over these rocks, and if you look at this tree stump that you need to, make sure that you lift your pedal up so you don't hit this tree stump, you're going to drift over to this tree stump. You need to look to where you want to go, not where you don't want to go. And that relates in this business. And, look where you need to be in this business, not where you don't want to be in this business. And I think a lot of people focus on the negative. They don't focus on the positive of what they're doing. They focus on those no's. They don't focus on the yeses that they had, or even the maybes that they get. And so I think that with mountain biking, Grant has probably learned a lot about life lessons, and he's learned a lot about what to do in this business and to look where he needs to go. And he's learned about commitment, and he's learned about hard work and what he needs to do to get to that top of that hill. Because I can tell you, riding a mountain bike up to the top of a hill is very hard work, and you can't give up because you can't turn back. Usually if you're in a race, there's no turning back because there's people behind you that are expecting you to get to that top. So Grant has learned a lot about life and a lot about business through his mountain biking. And some of his other interests are fly fishing, water skiing. I would say any outdoor activity you'd probably find Grant doing. One of the things he said, which I think is actually interesting that he wrote this down, is an interesting thing about him is that he loves soda, and you'll always find him drinking some kind of diet soda, and he likes it at room temperature, which, Grant, I have to agree with you. I prefer my soda at room temperature as well. So I am not going to take up any more of his time, and I'm going to turn the time over to Grant. And give me 1 second, Grant, because you actually can't unmute yourself. So, okay, there we go. We're going to turn the time over to Grant, and he will be talking about, give me 1 second, sorry. He's going to be talking about presenting on following up and how to make it more efficient while building trust. So Grant, the time is yours.
Okay, well, thank you, Angie. Thank you very much. It's totally true. With mountain biking, you do learn those things. You learn how to look forward, and you learn what is worth looking at, what is not worth looking at, and just how to set your sights on the right thing. And it's a great blessing, and it's a lot of fun. But what we'll be talking on today is following up. So can you hear me okay? Is it good? Okay. I'm in my car. So we are moving in about 2 hours, actually. So moving into our new house in Harriman. But now I'm in my car this morning because our whole house is a mess. I don't really have anywhere else to do it. So here we are in my car. But I kind of feel like the bad guy now after Jerry's talk, because now I got to talk about the not so fun stuff, the following up and the, get your act together kind of stuff. But what I found is it's one of the coolest things about the business is that when it comes time to something like belief, like what Jerry was talking about, belief and faith and hope and excitement, motivation, all that stuff, it's necessary, but it only really benefits you if you have a method or a system that propels you forward, right? And if you don't have a thing that you can work with, it doesn't matter how excited or motivated you are, right? It's the same thing in mountain biking and racing. You can be very, very excited, motivated, amped up for a race. However, if your bike's broken, that motivation isn't going to do any good, right? So what we want to do next after that awesome talk is, how do we put this to action? How do you take your belief and put it forward and propel you? And what are the things that we need to do? So very excited. But I first just want to express some gratitude to corporate, to Angie, and to Ryan, and to David, just the wonderful people that we have here. Belief goes a lot farther when you actually know who you're working with and what you have your hands on. I was texting Angie the other day, and I was very impressed, because you're talking business a little bit, talking about some stuff, and then she just goes, "Oh, by the way, how's your wife? How's your kid? How's things going? What you up to?" And I was like, this is awesome, right? You're not going to get a boss that does that for you and just checks in how you're doing sporadically. And it's great. And even the other day, so we've got a prospect out here in Saratoga Springs in Utah. So it's about 15 minutes south of here. And me and him and his wife are, they're interested, but a lot of scheduling stuff and conflicts and whatnot. And we're talking, hey, let's go up to corporate sometime and go and take a tour and check things out so you guys can see what's going on. And so with that is just texting Dave and, hey, this is what we might do. Let me know it works. Okay, here's what would be the best thing to do. And then texting back a few days ago. And they said, hey, a lot of scheduling conflicts. We'll only be able to do it on a Saturday. Don't worry about it. Like we can make other plans. Just take the day for your family. Don't want you to distract you from that. And David texted me back, and I was very impressed. And it's really kind of changed my paradigm on a lot of things. And he said, nope, I'm going to meet him. We're doing it. Just put in the schedule. I'll be there no matter what. And that opened up my eyes to these are the kind of leaders that we have, the kind of people running the company that we're so blessed to work with. So take that and add that to your belief. Believe in what you have. So thank you, Jerry. That was great. But what we're going to talk about is the follow-up. So it's going to be about 10% how to get to a follow-up. In other words, getting a first meeting, how to get to that point, because without having a first conversation, you can't really have a follow-up. So we'll talk a little bit about that, but then 90% is going to be on the actual follow-up. Probably 50% of that's going to be how to schedule the follow-up, because that's an important thing. And then the other half is how do you actually do the follow-up. So with that, talking to somebody, finding prospects, that is the first and foremost most daunting task of the business, right? Is how do I find somebody to talk to? How do I get to that point? How do I reach out to somebody? How do I make it not weird? And my rule of thumb is that if you're not making it a service, it's going to be weird. Plain and simple. But make it a service, and you can talk to anybody. It could be your mom, it could be your cat, it could be who knows, right? Rather you talk to a tree about ACTIVZ before you talk to nobody, right? Just talk to somebody about it. Make it a service. But let's see. I have it drawn out here. I'll show you. I didn't draw it virtually, so I'm gonna have to just pull my notebook up here. I call it the 4 different quadrants of conversation of this business. So we'll start with this. Then where do you go to talk to somebody? How do you do that, right? So what I like to say is you split it into 4. And if you have notes, I'd write this down. This has helped us out a lot. And when you're doing weekly planning or something, plan around this model right here, and it's really going to help out a lot. But if you can see that all right, you've got quadrant 1 right here, which says inner circle if you can't read that. So that's people that you know, that you have a good relationship with, that you see on a fairly regular basis to a consistent basis. Number 2 is outer circle. Okay, so that's people that you know, you don't maybe talk to them every day, or maybe it's a past coworker, people that you know, but they're not actively in your life, or vice versa. Okay, so it's old acquaintances or other people. Quadrant 3 is new conversations in person. So that's people you meet when you're out and about, at the farmer's market, at the mall, when you're out walking your dog at the park, stuff like that. 4 is new connections digital. So that's people you meet maybe over Facebook or in different groups or in a digital book club or something like that. It's, yeah, people you meet that you didn't know before, you're making new connections, but it's over social media or something. So out here, I have these little percentages written down. So I have 30, 30, 30, and 10. Reason for that is because this is probably the least efficient. So we're going to put our time where the efficiency is. We're going to prioritize efficiency over productivity, because productivity is just, you talk to lots of people, you're being productive. But if you're efficiently getting people through the pipeline and sponsored and helping them run, that's efficient. Okay. So we want to have efficiency, and we're just going to follow these different quadrants for efficiency. So about 30% of your time inner circle, 30% of your time outer circle, 30% of your time meeting new people in person, and 10% of your time meeting new people digitally. We found that to be a very effective, very potent method for building your business and sponsoring new people and getting to the point where you can do follow-ups. So those are the 4 quadrants of finding. Base your planning around that, and then you can actually do some follow-ups because you have people to talk to. And then it's dropping a message. So I always like to make it a service, make it a compliment. You know, hey, this is what's going on. Like Jerry said, there's this new company. There's this new company. I don't know how many words or whatever he said, but yeah, saying, hey, here's what's going on. This is ACTIVZ. This is a network marketing company. I know a little bit about your situation, and I think that this could help you. When you say it that way, or some variation of that, it's not like, hey, come get involved with my company. It's, hey, I want you to look at this because I care about you, because I love you, and maybe I don't even know that much about you, but I know that there's room to serve you, and that's my duty as a good citizen, is to serve you. So I want to show this to you. And then, or, you know, you're talking to somebody you just met, hey, you're very outgoing. I'd like to show you what we're doing in our company because I think you'd be a great fit at it, or you'd be great at it, be a great fit for you. I could benefit you a lot. Let's exchange info, and we can chat and go over some stuff. So make it a compliment, make it a service, either or. Great. And then do a first conversation. So schedule a meetup with new connections, right? Bring a paper and pen for that one. Book a call with people over social media, right? So that's quadrant 4 finding, and invite them to a presentation. That's the goal. Pay visits to people you know, make phone calls. Hey, can I come visit you? Or we hop on a FaceTime or something, and catch up with those that you have in your outer circle. So it's, hey, we haven't talked in a while, let me come visit you. We've got a leg out in Cedar City, Utah. This is what we did. And it's about a 3.5 hour drive from where we are. And one day I just thought, you know what, I need to go visit with them. Maybe they're gonna find ACTIVZ. Maybe it's gonna come up in conversation. Maybe not. I sure hope it does, because I don't want to go spend $150 in gas and not talk about ACTIVZ. So left in the morning, said a little prayer. It's like, I'm not going to make it my intent to talk about it, but if it comes up, just let it come up, because we got to talk about it. We came up, or drove down there, drove 3.5 hours, went and visited them, and we just kind of got talking. They ended up asking, what are you up to? Tell them about ACTIVZ. And they go, wow, we're signing up, send me the link. Like, all right, sounds good. And now they have all of Bakersfield underneath in their business, and so they're totally dominating California. So it's pretty awesome. We're excited for them. But yeah, some people just comes up naturally. You're just catching up with some people. So you do all these things. You have a first conversation. You know how to do that. That's not an unfamiliar, but those aren't new waters for all of you on this call, right? Then it's the follow-up, and that's the bulk of this training, this discussion, is doing that follow-up. So I just have a bunch of little bullet points here. I'm going to read them and try and be as unrobotic as possible. So bear with me if it seems like I'm just reading a bullet point, because I am. So it's crucial to never end a call or meeting or visit without having a follow-up booked. Remember that, write that down, plan for that. When you talk to somebody and you just have a conversation, and we've all done it, We'll say, okay, that's what's going on. Yeah, well, let's touch base on this later this week. See you later. That is a huge no-no. Don't do that. Another one is, I'll let you know, or we'll talk soon. Like, hey, here's what's going on. We'll touch base on it soon. That's a huge no-no. We want this business to be formal. If it's not formal, people probably aren't going to think about it when you leave. And that's what we want. We want to give them stuff to think about and stuff to study in their minds. And if you're just saying, oh, here's what's going on, we'll talk about it in a few weeks or something, then it doesn't do you much good, right? So saying let's touch base later, or I'll text you, we'll set something up, or we'll talk soon. Those are huge no-nos. What we always want to do is have a conversation with somebody, let them know, like, hey, here's what's going on. Make it as formal as possible. If you can sit down at their house, great. If you can sit down at a hotel lobby, great. If it's at a coffee shop, great. But sit down with somebody formally, or maybe sit down virtually over FaceTime with somebody. Here's what's going on. I want to show this to you. Lay things out and say, okay, I know you're going to have questions. I know this is a lot to take in. Let me send you some stuff to look over. Think about it. Come up with some questions. Let's chat again on Thursday. Does the same time work for you? Okay, so we want to schedule that while we are in that first conversation, in that first meeting. And that's pretty much well, kind of all the stuff that we have also is just breaking that down, but that's pretty much it. It's simple like that. Another thing that we do is three-way calls, and there is some etiquette with that, of course. So we'll do little nuts and bolts here. But a three-way verbiage would be, you're talking to somebody, and I always like to say, okay, let me talk to my sponsor and see if he or she can make it. Either way, let's chat again on Thursday, same time works for you. So what you want to do with three-way calls is it's very tempting to say, hey, we fall into this trap so often, and it harms us. It delays people's processes of learning and getting signed up. Because what we do is we'll say, okay, you're talking to them, they're interested. You say, okay, let's hop on a three-way call with me and my upline, right? So, hey, whatever you're doing later this week, I'm going to talk to Eric. We're going to get on a three-way call. What ends up happening is you have scheduling conflicts on the side of your upline, and then it gets your prospect kind of left hanging. It's like, well, this idea that we had to meet at this date, this time is no longer going to work. So now we got to just get in this back and forth text, playing phone tag with them. And it takes 3 weeks to get a three-way call set up. And at that point, you could have just done it yourself and saved a bunch of time. So we've all done that. We've all experienced that. It's frustrating. There's an easy fix. The easy fix is when you are in that first conversation, schedule the follow-up meeting with them. And don't worry about your upline. Tell them, okay, at this call, we're going to chat, we're going to follow up. I'll talk to my upline, right? I'll talk to Diane and see if she can be there, if she'd like to phone in. If she can, great. If not, great. That's it. Okay. So don't make it a, hey, we are depending on my upline to be there for the call for it to happen. It's they're going to be there as a bonus if they're available. Otherwise, I'm going to be stepping up to the plate because this is my business, right? This is not your upline's business. This is your business, right? And obviously when your business is growing, you'll have legs that are 5 connections out. And we like to work very closely with all those legs because are those people's businesses not our business too? So we're not just going to let them grow their business. It's a very enticing fact of network marketing is that other people build their businesses and it grows your income, but their businesses are your business too. So there's no shame in working as closely as possible with everyone in your business. In fact, I think it's a good thing. So with that, it is your business. So don't wait for your upline to build it for you. Don't wait for them to do the three-way calls with you. Just do them. If they can be there, great. But I always tell Eric, I'm not going to let you sit at the top and not get your hands dirty. So you're working our business as much as possible, whether you like it or not. I sent him to Bakersfield a few days ago, actually. I was like, hey, we got some people out there who want to meet. You're driving there next week. It's like, all right, let's go. But I tried to make it, but I couldn't. But just stuff like that, right? One of my favorite points, write this down, is If it is difficult to schedule a first conversation with somebody, then scheduling a follow-up will be at least twice as difficult if you don't schedule it during the first conversation. Okay, so you think you have this situation that we've all experienced where you're trying to talk to somebody, get something scheduled, and it's a process. It's tough. They got stuff going on. And then once you get that thing scheduled, you sit down, it kind of feels like you're crossing a finish line. You're like, oh, finally, we're able to talk about it. That doesn't mean that the next meetings are going to be a breeze to schedule either. It means they're going to be at least twice as hard because now they got an extra thing to think about and put into their schedules, right? And so it's just the start line. So lock in the place. When you have that first meeting scheduled, a first conversation happening, you want to get a follow-up on the schedule. Otherwise, it's going to be twice as difficult at least to schedule the follow-up than it was to schedule that first conversation. And then to wrap it up in a quote from me, it's they say the fortune is in the follow-up, so put your fortune on the calendar. Okay. So if the fortune is in the follow-up, why would you not plan your fortune? Why would you not put it on the calendar as soon as possible while you're on that conversation? That just makes sense. It's like saying, oh, one day we might be successful, we might have fortune, we might be A16. Who knows though? But you can literally be putting it on your calendar with those people. So you can decide and put it on your calendar when you're going to go A16, when you're going to go A12 or A6. You just got to book the follow-ups and make it a set thing in a formal in stone event. So follow-up verbiage. Just give an example. Something I like to say is, you're sitting down with somebody and you're saying, okay, so we talked about ACTIVZ last time, and today we're planning on answering questions and seeing where your head is at, what we need to do to do next if you want to do it. Now, what you'll notice there is that saying that goes a lot better if when you're in your first conversation and you book the follow-up, letting them know, hey, this is what we're going to be talking about in that meeting next time. So plan on this. That way, when you come into that follow-up, it's not like, go, oh, here we are. Nice weather, huh? How about that airline food, right? You're not saying that. It's, hey, here's the itinerary that we planned on. Let's just dive right in as planned. Okay, so it's okay. We talked about this last time. We're going to talk about this today. What questions do you have? You want to talk more about products? Let's talk about Link, right? So do that. If they have questions, answer them. And don't be afraid to say, I'm not sure. Let me do some digging and we'll chat again about that next time, right? Or let me give you a call after we leave or something like that. If you don't know something, don't be ashamed of that. I actually think that's one of the beautiful things about ACTIVZ right now with the timing and with the products is that there's so much information about the products. It's unreal. There's so much to know. We can't know everything in a short amount of time. I probably only know a third of everything on a good day about one specific product, right? And I think we're probably all in that same boat. And so when somebody says, I have a question about this, you can just say, oh, I don't know, and make it a bad thing. Say, well, they're thinking that I'm lame, that I don't know my own business. But you could also make it be a, hey, there's a lot going on here. There's a lot to learn. Those are great questions. I'm not sure, not because I'm stupid, but because there's just so much going on here and it's so exciting that we're all still learning about new stuff every single day, right? So when you say it that way, people go, oh, okay, yeah, this builds credibility to ACTIVZ. This is cool. So you go do the research, give them a call back, right? The buck can stop with you, okay? Let the buck stop with you. Take advantage of that. Take ownership of getting information to people, being the biggest in the room. So let the buck stop with you, but don't let the business stop with you, right? When you get into the business, when you sign up, you are at the bottom. It's the tough pill to swallow is that, yes, at one point or another, when you first start, you are at the bottom. It is up to you to not be, right? So if you don't let the buck stop with you, you're always going to have ACTIVZ stop with you. If you do let the buck stop with you, then ACTIVZ is going to go way past you. So kind of a paradox there. But okay, moving on. If they want to sign up, give them the link and the presentation schedule. With the link, just the URL to register, I believe that it's more important to show them how to share the link via the app than to walk them through the sign up. Because walking them through the sign up, they can figure that out. And if you teach them how to share the link, then there's that point of your business that grows to that second level below them. You don't have to really worry about that quite as much, and it grows a lot faster. So it's easy to want to say, okay, I'm going to walk you through the process of getting signed up, and sometimes you have to do that. But if you're going to pick one or the other to prioritize, walking them through the sign up process or walking them through how to share the link and sign somebody else up, we're going to do that. We're going to show them how to share with somebody else and sign them up. So that's just a quick point there. And there's something else that I was going to mention. Oh, that's what it was. When it comes time to sending somebody a link to sign them up in a follow-up, it's tempting to say, okay, here's the link, let's sign you up. They sign up and you're like, great, this is going to be awesome. Happy to work with you, blah, blah, blah. See you later, right? Let's chat again at this day, this time. What you want to do is say, okay, you want to sign up, want to do it? Let's put a presentation on the schedule. Always put a presentation on the schedule for somebody before they sign up. That does two things. One, it builds their trust in you, knowing that you're building this for them, not because you want them to make you money, right? And two, it just makes it clean, efficient, and organized. So you look at the messaging there with that first one. And if you're saying, okay, you want to do what you have interest, okay, let's book a meeting. Let's get a presentation going. You invite your people, whether digital or in person. Let's just get people there, right? And then I'll send you the link in the meantime, and you can get your registration going through. Let me know if you have any questions. I can walk you through it if you need me to. I'm happy to or whatnot. And then show them as well how to share that link with other people. Now, what that says is this person wants my business to grow. And in theory, if I don't sign up, they're still going to work with me. That builds trust. The other way, it says, okay, sign up and then we'll do a presentation. That works, and businesses grow that way. But it's not ideal because the messaging there is, you know, Jerry is only going to help me once I generate volume for his business, and then he'll help me build my business. I don't think that that is a charitable way to build the business, right? And you can have charitable messaging. You can help them understand that it's charitable, but then you kind of have to justify that action, right? And it kind of sends a conflicting message. You can override that message, but what if that trust was built into the systems that you do? And that's the next thing that we're going to talk about is how do you build trust into the systems and do this all in a way that builds trust? And it's a pretty quick point because we're running out of time here. But yeah, it's when somebody wants to sign up, it's okay, here's what to do. Let's get a presentation on the schedule. And let's just go. Whenever you're ready for it, I'll send you the link to sign up. But as of right now, we just need to focus on getting those steps down that grow the business. Because just having you signed up, it's not going to duplicate. Doing the presentations and stuff like that, that's going to duplicate. So let's focus on that, just right out the bat. So that's kind of the method there. And then the last point here is trust. Okay, none of this is really feasible at a large duplicating scale without trust. So if they are on the fence in that follow-up, ask them why. Okay, don't just try and be defensive and assume that it's something wrong with you or something wrong that they're seeing. Just ask them why. Be open and honest. Right? Build trust and establish permission-based leadership. So some examples is they've got a concern and say, okay, can I give my 2 cents? So look at that example that Jerry made with that one guy. Okay, said, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to bug my family. And what did Jerry say? He says, okay, let me give you a call back. Called him back, and I'm sure it was something like, hey, can I give you my 2 cents, or can I share you my experience with this? That is permission-based leadership, and that builds trust. Okay, so you're not just saying, you know, this is my concern. I don't want to be that guy. Well, suck it up, buttercup, because this is what you got to do to be successful. That is not a good way to go. do not do that. Just say, well, I totally get that. Can I give my example or my experience with that concern? Because I dealt with that too. When you say it that way, it's like, yeah, I would love to hear how you handled this concern that I have, right? So if you're addressing the concern, you're not actually addressing the concern. If there's a concern, step one is to build trust and get permission to address the concern. Okay, that's the thing that needs to be addressed, is trust. So actually yesterday, we were at my wife's, at Brittany's mom's house, just kind of moving some stuff back and forth and having dinner and whatnot. And Brittany was home for about 4 hours. And in those 4 hours, they had about a 3-hour long conversation with her sister-in-law about ACTIVZ. And she was very interested. She's signing up tomorrow. But I remember I walked back inside, they grabbed something and walk out. And Emily, my sister-in-law, she says one thing, and she this is all I heard, and she goes, "This is all really cool. I'm liking what I see, but I need to know, and I have lots of questions, but do you trust the people running this company? Do you trust your upline?" And Brittany goes, "Yeah, totally." And she goes, "All right, I'm in. That's all I need to know. The rest, I'll figure it out. But if you trust what's going on here, I trust it too. So let's do it." And that really struck me. It's like, wow, if we just build trust with our prospects, then they're going to have questions, but the questions will sort themselves out. So when someone is on the fence, thorough explanations will always take a backseat to building trust. Someone who trusts you will say, "Of course I have questions, maybe even apprehensions, but I trust you. I trust Greg and Abby. I trust Kathleen, or I trust Mary, and I know that they will be worked out as we move along in partnership because I trust you." With trust, and write this down if you can, with trust, questions and concerns become opportunities. Without trust, they become dams. So the level or the extent that your prospects and your team trust you is going to determine if someone trips them up, or if they have a concern and it drives them away or something silly like that. If they trust you, those are going to be opportunities. That's what me and my wife said when we were dating, because we did the whole long distance thing for about 3 months. We were living about 5 hours apart from each other. And when I moved up there to Idaho to go to college, and she goes, is this gonna be the end of it? Is this gonna, take us down, right? And the first thought that came to my mind, I think, is one of those moments where in kind of high stakes situations, you get revelation. And the first thing that came to my mind was, well, roadblocks are only roadblocks if you look at them as roadblocks. If you have faith, they become opportunities. They become springboards. So that's actually a thing with mountain biking, to go back to what Andrew was talking about. There's this really cool concept using your momentum with mountain biking. Let's say there's a rock in front of you and you got your 2 wheels. You can say, okay, this is a rock and it's going to slow me down. So you got the path, then you got a rock, right? So you kind of go up it and over it. But if you got your 2 wheels, what you can actually do is, let's lift up on the bike so the momentum is loosened on the front side of the rock. And then as soon as you get over the halfway point or the boulder or whatever, we're going to press down the momentum and right off the back of it. And you can actually use rocks and little stuff like that and roots to gain speed. So the same situation and the same concept applies to life. It's just, how do you handle it? How do you look at it? Are you looking at this obstacle, this barricade, as a wall, or is it just a ramp that's facing backwards that you can go on the other side and get a lot of momentum, right? Look at your business, look at your obstacles the same way, and build trust. People are going to have questions, and that is the whole summation of this training and presentation, which is, you go through the process of following up. You got to follow the steps, make it formal, make it efficient, but build trust. Okay, you go into a next meeting, if someone's got a concern but they trust you, it's gonna buff out, right? Someone's got a worry but they trust you, it's gonna work out. If they got questions about the products and they trust you, it's gonna work out. So build trust and that is it. That is everything. So thank you very much for letting me do that little training.
Thank you, Grant. That was absolutely amazing. I hope you guys all took notes. And I'm not sure why I'm getting feedback. Anyway, I took a lot of notes with what Grant was saying, and it was absolutely incredible. I think one of the things that you guys all need to keep in mind is this is your business and you need to build it. So don't wait for your upline, don't wait for other people. Grant really emphasized on that. And then also the trust. The trust is absolutely critical when you're building. So you need, this business is about relationships and it is about building trust. And that is a critical piece in being successful. But don't wait, don't let someone build this for you. Go out and make this work. And I know that Grant and Brittany, they are going to be successful. And they've already started making waves in this business, and we're excited and we can't wait to continue to watch them grow. So thank you, Grant, for joining us today and being one of our presenters. All right, Stu, I'm going to turn this back over to you.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Angie. I don't know how to fix my screen with all these things going on.
Oh, let me fix that for you. Let me I can do that.
I'm not as good as everyone on this thing. Well, as you're fixing it, I too want to thank Grant for the wonderful active school training. Man, he kept me up with my fingers here, typing along and taking a lot of notes, so appreciate it. But I also appreciate the time that you took to present, knowing that you're in your car and especially in the middle of a move. Just for everyone here, when we asked him for that, he wasn't quite sure that he would have time because of the situation that he was going to be in, but he made time to even be in his car to do this presentation, and that speaks volumes for the kind of person he is, the kind of leader that he is, and speaks volume to all the kind of people that you are, waking up early this morning to receive training, to listen to trainings, and to present. So thanks a lot, Grant, for that wonderful training on building trust and on the follow-up. So our concluding speaker, you guys will all know, let's see here, if I can, I don't know how to, oh, here we go. Can everyone see my screen? Yes, okay. He is very humble in a lot of things that he does. Definitely he is, oh, sorry. Dr. Brett Earl, I would just, as I mentioned in the beginning of this call, I was on a Zoom call with our Japanese distributors at 1 a.m. this morning here in Hawaii, and that's 8 p.m. on a Saturday in Japan. And Dr. Brett Earl, and this was just before the COVID wave hit and before they restricted travel to Japan, but he traveled with me, and as well as David. As you can see, David's shining personality on the right side of the screen. He was also in attendance, but we traveled to Japan together, and Dr. Earl is a wonderful, wonderful presenter. If you guys already don't know, yes, Diane, I know you finally saw and you realized my joke. I know David already knew what I was saying, but nonetheless, I miss David. I miss making fun of him, but he's awesome. But Dr. Earl, he's in his lab coat because the Japanese, as you can see, they're all dressed in suits, shirt and tie, just to come to presentations to hear him speak. But he's a wonderful presenter. And even though it's not in Japanese, they understand a lot of the things that he says because it's very simple when he talks about the science of our products and what it does for your body. It's very simple. By trade, Dr. Earl is was or is an emergency service doctor. And I'm just gonna stop sharing just for a quick second here, because I want to make sure I can see everyone's faces. But he's a board certified physician, and he practiced emergency medicine for over 15 years. But he saw what the limitations of what Western medicine could do. And so, a couple of years ago, that's actually how David Brown, if you guys remembered, in his introduction of Dr. Earl, that's how he met Dr. Earl when he went to get some of those prolozone shots, which I also received from Dr. Earl as well. But he opted to study and also practice integrative medicine. So that's basically, focus on restoring the health, in preventing illnesses, avoiding prescriptions and surgery whenever possible. But he did that so he could help people in a better way. So instead of waiting for them to get sick, he's trying to help them not get sick. And so that just speaks to the kind of person he is, and he's caring for people before bad things happen. And he's a great person to travel with. His stories are amazing. His wife is amazing. He has 6 kids. I went to his house there in northern Utah. Very, very beautiful place, but definitely you can feel the love that he has for his family, for the people that he's around with, the clients, the many clients that he serves in opening up his own practice there. I think it's in Bountiful, Utah there, but he's just a wonderful person. He also loves sports. He's a college baseball player as well. I know baseball opening night was the other night, and so definitely it's a fun time for him. He likes to travel, and he has a big farm, so definitely he loves farming as well. But once again, what he does and his specialty is not only treating people, and helping prevent injuries, but he actually connects with their heart and their mind. And that's why a lot of the Japanese distributors that we have love him, and they keep asking for him, as well as you, David, just to let you know, when I travel to Japan, as often as I do. But nonetheless, we're happy that he gets to present today at our US Active school this morning. And so I'd like to turn the time over to the wonderful, talented Dr. Brett Earl.
Wow. Well, thank you. I really just want to close after that introduction, because all I can do from here is go downhill. So we'll dwell on the shining personality and a trip to Japan. And no, just kidding. Wow, I got to tell you, I am really grateful that I had the opportunity to tune in today and listen to both Jerry and Grant. This is just really core, basic psychology. I am absolutely fascinated about what makes people take choices or make choices in one way versus another. I love that. And both Jerry and Grant really hit on some key concepts that really help people move forward and hopefully empower you to build your own business and to really help people. I think just a couple of quick notes, and I only mention this because they were so powerful. Faith and fear from Jerry. Faith and fear can't really coexist, and you're really trying to build that hope, that belief. Get them to try it, and then they'll know it. Then they'll love it. I love Grant's comments. Find out what's worth looking at and what isn't worth looking at. It's interesting. They did a follow-up to a study they did clear back in the 80s and 90s, where they talked about the internet was just emerging, and they said, oh, the information age is just about ready to explode, and it's going to make these superhumans that just know everything. And the reality is, there's so much information. We have something called analysis paralysis. And Winston Churchill said, out of great complexity, great, beautiful simplicity will emerge. And we need to look at how we can simplify this and make it extremely powerful for those people below us. And I think the key that was so perfectly discussed by Grant was trust. We really have to develop trust in those people we talk to, and then look at that as, when they ask questions, when they seem to bring up roadblocks, that's an opportunity for you to solve a problem and to move them forward. So with that in mind, I'm actually going to talk today just briefly about COVID. COVID is still all over the news. It's on everyone's mind. And it's one of those key pieces that will come up in a conversation. So if you have a conversation with someone, the chances that it doesn't enter the conversation right now is pretty low. Well, imagine if you had some tools that really made their lives better or helped prevent or protect them from the side effects of COVID. And so I'm going to talk about some new research and some new things that are going on so that you have some tools to, again, take their questions, take their communications, their conversations that are in everyday life and turn that into something that you can use to build your business, but more importantly, that you can use to help them pass the struggles. The struggle is real, and help them get past those obstacles. Because if you help someone get past an obstacle in their life, there is no greater trust builder. There is no greater trust builder than helping someone with their problems and getting them past the roadblocks, the dams, the obstacles that are in their life. And so with that kind of in it as an introduction, let's see, I need to share my screen. And we're just going to look at really some research that's been popping up over the last little bit in regards to, let's see, sorry, I've got to move something here. It doesn't want to allow me access to my tabs. Okay, so hopefully you can see this screen, and it's really the Republic World. This is actually one of the directors for the World Health Organization, and he's talking about the fact that coronavirus is here to stay. And this is where we need to really start some of our conversations or finish them, is just tell people, yes, it's here to stay. They're talking about transitioning from a pandemic, which is what we've been through, to endemic. Endemic means it's just ubiquitous, it's throughout society, and it just continually reemerges, if you will, in certain pockets. And we see those pockets happen every year with influenza. We see those pockets happen with all the other cold viruses that are out there. So those are endemic, meaning that it's part of our society. It's part of what we deal with on a repeat basis. Okay. All right. WHO says COVID will mutate like the flu and is here to stay. And again, just a reality. Coronavirus is here to stay. COVID is here to stay. Countries must decide how to adapt. Well, again, and I'm not trying to dwell on the fear base of this. Take this in context. What I'm trying to do is say, hey, here's the reality. Now let's give you some tools to get past this. So I'm going to seem to focus a little bit on the negatives here, but the reality is that's not the case. This is amazing what we have to offer people as they move forward. So COVID is here to stay, and it remains a little bit unpredictable. We have to be ready for that. And so if it's unpredictable, then we need to have some tools that deal with that unpredictability. Infection control today, COVID is here to stay. And just, again, article after article that talks about that COVID is here to stay. And then this article, this is actually from the Center of Disease Control and Prevention. They talk about post-COVID conditions. So we're seeing an absolute onslaught of patients that are having to deal with post-COVID conditions. And that's either, post-vaccination syndromes or post-COVID syndromes, long hauler syndromes. And we're seeing a lot of these issues show up with a lot of patients. In fact, I actually developed an entire program at my clinic to deal with some of these realities that are going on. So one of the things to understand is that COVID really does drive inflammation inside of our bodies. It drives inflammation. And so we may not, going back to this article that talked about the unpredictability, we may not be able to predict what COVID is going to do in society. But the beautiful thing about this is we can absolutely predict what our response is going to be, what our reaction is going to be. That's amazing. And we can give people tools that help them deal with the situation on a more positive basis. And that's dealing with the inflammation. So again, really important stuff as far as we move forward with an endemic situation with COVID. So again, this is an article, National Library of Medicine, talks about inflammation from COVID. It talks about certain treatments. And this was interesting, a lot of graphics and so forth in here. But if you look at their treatment protocols that they summarized here, it's plasma therapy, it's steroids, it's all of these really harsh chemicals, if you will, that have potential side effects that are so much more dramatic than just dealing with it on a foundational level, which is what the awesome trifecta at ACTIVZ does. And so again, these are topics that are going to come up and you're going to have these conversations. So this study was talking about the post-COVID inflammatory syndromes. It's called MIS-A. There's an MIS-C for children. Again, just really looks at the amount of inflammation that's going on after COVID infections. Inflammation from COVID-19 can cause multi-organ damage. I mean, this is serious stuff. We're seeing this emerge more and more from a medical standpoint. And boy, if we had some tools, if only we had some tools to help our friends, our family, well, we do, and we'll talk about that here in a bit. How COVID-19 triggers massive amounts of inflammation. And again, just an article that talks about, the fact that COVID actually attacks our immune cells. It attacks our immune systems. It becomes a significant problem for our immune systems moving forward. And we have to have some tools in order to combat that. And certainly when they get so sick they have to come into a clinic or a hospital setting, that changes how we address that. And sometimes the pharmaceuticals are necessary. But what if we were able to preemptively go after some of this inflammation? New insights on COVID-19. And again, these are just some articles that are pulling up as I do a quick review and search throughout Google and throughout the internet. Nothing really that's just for us in medicine, if you will. These are articles that are out there. Center for Disease Control talks about this multi-system inflammatory syndrome. And so I want you to see that this isn't just, Dr. Earl pulling up these obscure, weird articles. These are major entities globally that are talking about these long-term effects. Major entities globally that are talking about these long-term effects that COVID is having on our systems, on our societies, and the way we interact between each other. So again, another long-term syndrome, a lot of symptoms that people discuss with that. Long haulers effect of COVID-19. And this has to do with the fact that COVID causes what's called a cytokine storm inside of our bodies. There's such an incredible reaction inside of our bodies to this infection that seems very heightened, that it drives our immune system also almost to the point that it becomes our enemy. It becomes the obstacle, if you will. National Library of Medicine, 50 long-term effects of COVID-19. 50. I mean, we're seeing just again and again, long-term side effects. Harvard Medical School, hidden long-term cognitive effects of COVID-19. So we're talking about inflammation in the brain. Gosh, I wonder if we had anything that would help directly with inflammation in the brain. That would be awesome if we had something that would help directly with inflammation in the brain. And if you look at some of my previous discussions about butyric acid and curcumin, tetrahydrocurcumin, and where it has its magic, not only general anti-inflammatory, but actually has a specific anti-inflammation component that helps that brain inflammation. And so when we see people that have brain fog or confusion or other issues post-COVID, really, we have one of the most powerful solutions out there. 14 sure signs you have COVID-19, so chronic fatigue. Again, I want you to, as I go through this list, I want you to ask how many people you know that are dealing with these issues. So chronic fatigue, shortness of breath, fevers, gastrointestinal problems. Boy, those are ubiquitous across society right now. Loss of smell and taste as well. Hallucinations. Now, some would say that in Stu's description of me, to begin this out in our trip to Japan, that he was suffering from hallucinations. And you're not wrong. You're definitely not wrong. I'm going to go with that. So hallucinations, short-term memory loss, bulging veins, bruising. And I got to tell you, in my clinic, I've seen a lot of people that come in with, man, I'm bruising where I wasn't before. Why is that the case? Well, that's because COVID attacks the endothelial cells that line the vessels inside of your body. I wonder if only we had something that was the preferred food source of endothelial cells. Something like Link, maybe? I mean, amazing. So look, it's just amazing the solutions that we have for long COVID syndrome. Gynecological problems, erratic heartbeat. So the heart is very interesting, and they're talking about why COVID affects the heart. Well, we're back to a very interesting physiologic component with heart disease, and that's that, or the heart makeup, sorry, and that's that the heart is a unique organ inside of your body. It's a combination of nerve tissue and muscle tissue, and it's balanced. And so we know that COVID can inflict inflammation in the brain and other neurologic tissues. Well, it also directly influences inflammation in the heart. So again, just key that we really try to get this inflammation under control. Lung abnormalities, heart damage. And for some reason, this last 14th piece didn't come in, but any chronic illness. If you're suffering or develop a new chronic illness, they're actually showing a significant correlation to that and COVID infections. COVID infections spike inflammation that will then drive other diseases forward and move it forward. So how to recover from long hauler syndrome? And they certainly have, how their discussions of how they deal with it. They really talk about dealing with symptoms. And this is the problem with Western medicine. And a lot of medicine that's out there is it's reactionary. It's very reactionary. And certainly, again, we can react to some of these symptoms and syndromes, if you will, but wouldn't it be better if we actually fixed the problem? If we actually looked at the solution, which is getting rid of inflammation. Oh, by the way, that's one of the more powerful things that happens with the trifecta. So again, don't doubt the tools that you have. This was very interesting. Is butyrate, butyric acid, Link, a natural alternative to dexamethasone, a very strong steroid? And they go on and say, yeah, it is. Anti-inflammatory effects of curcumin in inflammatory disease. And I've given other lectures that really talk about, and other discussions that really talk about the power and the anti-inflammatory effects of tetrahydrocurcumin. And so I'm not going to delve into that here. Natural product remedies for COVID-19. Again, this talks about curcumin. This talks about some of the other components that are available in the trifecta. So we're influencing inflammation at the source by using the trifecta. Now, one of the other things that you can talk to your friends and family and other people about is the best anti-inflammatory diet. And one of the best is the Mediterranean diet. And I'm not going to jump into that, but I recommend that if people are still struggling and say, what else can I do? Do just some brief looking into the Mediterranean diet. There's also the DASH diet. It's very good. And then Dr. Andrew Will's anti-inflammatory diet. But one of the best is the Mediterranean diet. Key component with the Mediterranean diet is healthy oils or healthy fats. And so we're back to having a discussion about short chain fatty acids, butyric acid, Link, and its power on inflammation. And so again, we have a key component that that really helps with our friends, our family, and people we meet in being able to combat some of this inflammation. So, and this was very interesting when we talked about the fact that, and this is just a different lead into a product that we have, which they're finding, and this is actually a huge number. Right now, 88% of the United States has some form of metabolic disease and metabolic dysfunction. 88%, that's huge. And they're finding, again, that exposure to COVID-19 and the vaccine is actually driving that even faster and further. And so if you want to start thinking about, wow, how do we fix our metabolism? And Jerry talked about this beautifully in the fact that we actually have a product that's absolutely tailor-made to help your metabolism. COVID-19 alters patients' metabolism and may induce diabetes. Wow. So again, an inflammatory component that really we have some amazing tools for. So quick summary, if I may, COVID is here to stay. It is here to stay. Second piece of that is that we need to not live in fear. We need to move forward with faith and look at this as an opportunity, because it really is. This is an opportunity for us to share products that are absolutely foundational, pivotal in them being able to deal with the inflammation. The trifecta is absolutely amazing. One of the most powerful combinations I have ever come across in regards to inflammation. And so we have a tool that can help friends, family, acquaintances, new people. You want to talk about, digitally finding new people? Boy, put out there the fact that you have a very significant solution for some of these long hauler syndromes and COVID syndromes. And you're not wrong. Again, believe in the product. It is that powerful. It's amazing. And then last, again, Arrow has the capability to activate that metabolism after it's been blunted by an infection from COVID-19 or been affected by the vaccine. So again, it's very powerful. I want you to really understand that you have the opportunity to help them bolster their faith. And that's just the faith is nothing more than seeing, as Grant said, and Jerry said both, faith is nothing more than seeing an obstacle as an opportunity. So you can give them hope, you can give them belief, you can then confirm their hope and their belief by allowing them to use the products and serve them, also beautifully stated by Grant, serve them by allowing them to use the products and allow them to try it. And shortly after they use it, they will know. And now you have someone that will trust you implicitly and help you move your business forward because you helped them move forward. Such a beautiful key. All right, I hope this was helpful. A lot of data, a lot of research. We kind of went through a lot of different articles, but I wanted to show how prevalent this is out there, what people are thinking about, what they're seeing, and how you can use a conversation about COVID and about long hauler syndrome, inflammation, metabolism, all of these key components that are going to come up in your conversations as an entryway to helping them, serve them, and get them well, and then gain trust and move them forward. Thank you for your time, and I will turn the time back to you, Stu.
Wow. So just to let you know, I wasn't, and I don't hallucinate. You guys must agree that Dr. Earl is a great presenter, right? Not only did he talk about something that is definitely prevalent in today's times, but he also kind of full circle just summarized both Jerry and Grant's presentation all into one. Definitely, we had anybody on the fence having a trust in the products that we have, in the people that we have, like Dr. Brett Earl, backing what David and Angie and the rest of the team created here at ACTIVZ is unbelievable. I'm so excited. I know Sherry last week, during our testimonial calls, gave a personal experience about her bout with COVID and how the trifecta helped, and it just solidified, or Dr. Earl solidified the reasons why. And so thank you for a great presentation. I'm so thankful that I recorded this so I don't get yelled at again. So I know there was a lot of information and articles that Dr. Earl was scrolling through. So once we get this link back up to our YouTube channel, feel free to go through it, share it with your teams, because definitely great information that he shared. And so I want to thank all the three presenters today. The men definitely represented today. I'm proud of them. But more importantly, I'm just happy that we have wonderful leaders in our company. And to give our closing remarks. It's so comforting to see that David Brown, our CEO, is back with us on these calls after going through some family hardships there. But nonetheless, thank you once again for everyone for their prayers and their thoughts for David and his family during his loss. And so with that being said, I will turn the time over to our lovely and spirited CEO, David Brown.
Thanks, dude. There you go, hallucinating again. You better take some Trivecta quickly while we're on this call. Hey, it's great. This has been awesome. Everyone's just done a remarkable job. Sometimes I think that these schools can't get any better. And frankly, it seems like every month they do. So great job, Jerry. Great job, Grant. And once again, thanks to Dr. Earl. You know, it's interesting. It's one thing to just hear Dr. Earl speak. You might think, well, you know, he's on an advisory board and what else is he going to say? But I actually know that Dr. Earl not only takes the products every day himself, that he recommends and makes sure that his family members take it as well. But I was just in his office earlier this week, and I don't know, I've probably been to his office, you know, many times, dozens of times, and he has the products there. He recommends them to his patients, and he utilizes them in his practice. And so you can, you know, I'm sure it came through. But if talking about belief, it's gone beyond belief to Dr. Earl. It's gone to knowledge. He doesn't just have to believe; he knows. Both based upon the science and the effects that he's seen in his own and other people's lives. You know, I do appreciate everyone's thoughts and prayers and people reaching out. My mother passed away about a week and a half ago. And like Jerry and others, we've all been through those. Many of us have been through those experiences as we get older. You know, and it's caused me to think about the things that my mother taught and experiences that I had. And you know, all of these instructions that we received today kind of become a roadmap for us, a roadmap on how to follow up, a roadmap on information about how we can improve our health, and a roadmap as to how we can really implement the things and develop a belief. But it reminds me of kind of a map experience with my mother. And the reason I say that is because when I was, I think I was a young adult, probably married by this time, my father bought a car, a small Toyota compact car that had a manual transmission. And my mother had not driven a manual transmission for many years. And so one time I asked her, I said, how's that coming along? Are you driving that okay? And she said, yeah, I'm getting better, but I don't drive at night. And I said, well, why don't you drive at night? And she said, well, because I can't see the map. And I said, well, I was a little puzzled by that. I said, what map are you talking about? She goes, you know, the little map that's on the top of the gear shift knob. And what she meant was the shift diagram that's often on the, and I thought to myself, well, I'm really glad you're not looking at the map while you're driving at night. But actually, I'm not that thrilled you're looking at the map during the daytime either, if that's how you're trying to drive. But you know, she did have a map for her life. But the map for her life was with the scriptures and the words of prophets and the way that she wanted to live her life. And we live according to maps, and we can get to certain places where we want to go. You know, we talk a lot about in network marketing, the why. But you know, I think the why is actually maybe the third question we ought to ask ourselves. I think the first thing we ought to ask ourselves is, where do we want to go? And what do we want to accomplish? Do you remember the story from Alice in Wonderland, when she was in Wonderland and she's doesn't really know where she's going, and she's following a path, and at a fork in the road there's a tree, and that's where she meets the Cheshire Cat. And she asked the Cheshire Cat, which road should I take? And the Cheshire Cat responds, well, where do you want to go? And she said, well, I don't know. At which point he responded, well, it doesn't matter what path you take then, because you don't know where you want to go. And you know, it's really important to know where we want to go, because once we know where we want to go, then we ask ourselves, why do we want to get there? And then we finally get to the final question, well, how do we get there? We know where we want to go, we know why we want to go there, and then we have to know the how. And Jerry and Grant and Dr. Earl talked about the how. And so if you're on the road, and first of all, if you've got an improper map, if you're not happy with where you're going, I would say change your map, get the right map, decide where you want to go. And then there's plenty of tools on how to get there. I think also as we get along the way, remember that we're not going to get there. There are twists and turns along the way, and it's okay to take a pause every once in a while, but not to let that pause get too comfortable. You know, the snow is finally melting in Utah. And in fact, I don't have any snow in my backyard or anything. I have a pool in my backyard. I've got a cover on the pool over the winter months. And so now the pool cover has a lot of water on it. And this is the spring, and ducks are returning back. And so the ducks are in search of a pond or a lake or a river. But they like to land on my pool cover and swim in the water. Okay, they are and you know, they're comfortable, but at the end of the day, they're not going to be happy because there are no fish, there are no anything else in that. It's just a pool cover with, you know, 6 inches of water on it, and they've just been kind of lulled into a false sense of comfort along their way to where they really want to go. They really want to go someplace where they can find food and have their family. And so that happens to us along the way. We might get a little comfortable, say, well, you know, I got there, I got to A6. I want to get to A16. I think I have the roadmap, I have the desire, the why, all that kind of stuff. But we kind of stop along the way. We get a little comfortable and we forget to keep on going. And so I think that if any of you have reached that plateau, that's okay. Don't beat yourself up over it. Just remember that to get to the next level, you need to follow the words of advice that, well, first of all, you need to do the things that got you to that level anyway, because you're now further along than you ever were before. So review what you did and keep going. And then finally, you know, as I again reflect back upon my mother's life, her passing is sad. It was relatively unexpected. And I say that, but when you're almost 88 years old, you know it's about to come. Okay, at some point or another, it's not going to keep going forever. And so, while very sad for me and my father and others that we're not going to have my mother around for a short period of time, we have faith that we're going to see her again, and we have wonderful memories. So it wasn't a tragic death. You know, there are sad deaths and there are tragic deaths when people are young, when it's totally unexpected, when young mothers, young fathers, when children, those are tragic passings. My mother's passing was not tragic. And, you know, along those same lines, there are sad things that can happen in our lives, even in regards to our business. Now, it's not the same thing as a life and death situation, but, you know, there are people that you will encounter that if they don't take advantage of the business opportunity, or they don't take advantage of the health benefits, it will be sad. They will have been able to, they will have missed an opportunity to add some extra money to their family so that they can take their kids on a vacation, so they can get that second car, that kids can go to college. And if they don't take advantage of the products, you know, it might cause them to have some uncomfortable health conditions that they could otherwise have avoided. But to tell you the truth, there's also tragic conditions that people who really needed an opportunity, who really didn't know how they were going to provide for their families, who really are facing a life and death medical or health condition, or frankly, are really in need of just support and friendship. When they don't have the opportunity presented to them, and we don't reach out to them and overcome our fears, then I think it becomes tragic. And I think I really love the way that Grant referred to this. You know, it's one thing to think to view everyone as a dollar bill or as a dollar sign, that, man, if I can just get this person, this person, this person, I'm going to make lots of money. But, you know, I think they can kind of sense that if we're just looking at them as a dollar sign. But when we approach this as a service, that what we're offering is really something that's going to improve theirs and their families' lives, then it really just does change the entire tenor of the conversation. That was really good advice. That's something that I learned a lot from. And you know, going back to Jerry, I think that confidence and belief comes through accomplishment. And so just doing something, putting it on your checklist and just accomplishing that day, it doesn't have to be life altering, doesn't have to be earth shattering. It just means that something you said you were going to do today, you actually did. And that gives you confidence to move forward and to do more. So on that note, I hope that we all will really make sure that we're following the right path. Many of these schools have provided great instruction from every single presenter that's ever been on these schools, has provided elements of the roadmap necessary. Now we just have to decide if that's really where we want to go. and if we're really going to do it. And I think that there's many evidences of examples of success in your life and the lives of others that you can point to when it gets a little tough, when you're tempted to pause or just even tempted to give up. So as Jerry said, your belief when it wanes can be supported by our belief, because our belief, I can tell you one thing, our belief in you never goes down. Sometimes, like you, our belief in ourselves might go down a little bit. But even so, we know that we can support each other and lift each other up. So on that note, thanks for being here with us today. You guys really are the best part of ACTIVZ. The very best product we offer the world are the people who are associated with us. And I know that you're changing the world each and every day. So thank you very much. Stu, back to you, buddy.
Awesome. Thank you so much, David. It's great to hear your words and your stories. I mean, Alice in Wonderland. Now we're going deep, David. That's awesome. But I like how you always draw analogy in the simplicity of things and how it relates to our business. And Diane, yes, he is shining his personality again today, if you wanted to laugh a little bit more. But I wanted to take the time before I hand the time over back to Angie for our lucky draw thing. But I see some people here on this call that has other people joining them. I see Kelly's iPhone, Trisha, you and the family over there, or your group there. I mean, I just love, you know, Diane, you as well, that you guys are getting together at this endemic kind of stage that we are experiencing now, that you are with people and that you guys are joining together, and together definitely we become stronger. And so thank you all for taking the time to see each other, to join each other, but more importantly, to join us today for our Active School. Wonderful presentations all around today. So let me go ahead.